Leadership, generosity, redemption. That's what comes to my mind when I think about today's guest. Hi everybody, I'm Justin Kershaw and welcome to Plank Session. And today I'm planking with the one and only, my boy, Chris Harder. Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is Chris Harder, entrepreneur, philanthropist, podcaster, and I am honestly still trying to figure out how in the world I let Justin talk me into a 5-minute plank, but I'm honored.
Chris Harder, thanks for planking with me, brother.
Oh, man.
So Chris, I'm fired up to have you on. We've had
Grateful to be on.
Thanks, brother. We've had a lot of leaders on the show already. And just so other people that don't know who you are, could you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so high level story is this. Midwest born and raised. I would say it's a great place to be born and raised because it gives you really good things like work ethic and family values and all that, and then took it to the coast out here in California. And if you can take those good foundational things to the coasts and where everything's going on, I feel like that's the perfect 1-2 punch, and that's kind of what we did. But the story from point A to point B it's been a wild one. You know, I was kicked out of college, and I remember I was excited. My parents were devastated. They thought it was the end of me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get a job at a car dealerships. I love cars, and that's where I learned sales and leadership. And I feel like if you can learn sales and leadership, man, you can write your own ticket. Yep. And at that time, everybody was starting to get into the big like lending banking boom that was happening. This is almost 20 years ago, and so of course I wanted to get into it, and I wanted to make more money, and I talked my way into this job, and started as a loan officer, worked my way up, and actually ended up as a senior vice president over tons of people, overseeing a bunch of lending at the world's biggest bank, and that was kind of cool, and it was fun, and it was one of the best experiences of my life until the recession hit, and it went from this positive, sales-driven, rah-rah atmosphere to miserable. Everyone lost their money, everyone lost their mojo, and it's like walking into a funeral every single day. And to make it worse, I had to go around for an entire year closing down branches,
wow,
letting people go, right? And so that was the worst year of my life. I gained 30 pounds.
Wow.
I don't have them right now while we're doing this. And so I gained 30 pounds, and my marriage was miserable because I was a miserable person, so therefore a bad partner, and something had to change. And so then I took a partnership with a little mortgage bank. We blew that up, but still wasn't a good fit. Yep. Sold out of that, came home, and that's when Lori and I started our entrepreneurial career and really started to show up in the world the way we wanted to.
That's awesome, man. Well, I remember the first time I ever saw you, it was a really nice hotel rooftop.
Yeah.
You walked in with this looking sharp, like a leader. And I automatically, just by the way you carried yourself, I wanted to get to know you. And when I was at that meeting, I felt like it was the first day of middle school. I felt like I didn't belong, and I remember you spoke up in the meeting after that, and you're like, listen, if you don't feel like you belong here, believe me, you're limiting yourself. Yeah. You do belong here. So it was really awesome, so I appreciate that.
Man, I love that. Listen, everybody belongs anywhere they want to be, right? Like, everyone's got the right to go and belong wherever they want, but they have to do their part. They have to show up.
That's right.
Like, they have to not go there and be a wallflower and wonder why it didn't work out. They have to go, and they have to say, okay, I'm going to come here, I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to create impact when I can, and that's how you belong,
Yep. So life is an enrollment game to me, meaning you're enrolling people in your cause and your movement or whatever it is you want to do. So you enrolled me by the way you showed up initially.
Thank you.
And then I heard your podcast, For the Love of Money, and you talked about how money is not a bad thing. Sometimes it gets in the hands of bad people.
Yeah.
Money needs to be in the hands of good people.
Yep.
Where did that generosity come from in your mind?
Definitely my parents. So I remember growing up, again, Midwest values. I remember when the check would come at dinner, they would teach me how to tip and why we're tipping extra and the importance behind it. Yeah, like in church, I remember the offering plate coming by, and we'd put more in than let's say average, and they would give it to us kids to put in. After church, they'd tell us why we're putting that in and all that stuff. So, matter of fact, even on like Christmases and stuff, we would adopt families and shop for them and stay up all night wrapping gifts and go deliver them. So it was definitely instilled by my parents. And then I had this weird dichotomy, this weird juxtaposition because I was taught generosity. I'm taking a break from this.
Oh, you're good, dude.
I was taught generosity, but I also loved nice things. I coveted money. I coveted nice things.
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain because growing up, I was told you're not supposed to like nice things, but you're supposed to be generous.
Okay.
And in my mind, I'm like, that doesn't make sense because to get nice things, you need money. To be generous, you need money. So I'm supposed to do something with this money I'm not supposed to go get.
Right.
And that kind of started my journey of like, I'm going to find a way to work this out loud. That became the podcast and empower other people to do the same.
It's awesome. And when I see somebody like yourself, I tell the story that's false that you've always had it together. You got kicked out of school.
Yeah.
Can you go into that story?
So I got kicked out of college because all I did was party. I didn't want to be there though, right? So all I did was party, all I did was drink. And like the very last semester, I didn't even go to class, not once. I didn't even buy books for it. But that's because I didn't want to be there. And when I left there, my parents thought it was the end of the world for me. I was excited because I knew I wanted to be participating in the economy. Like I knew I wanted to be out there making money, making a difference, and doing the do, so to speak. It was already like ingrained in me.
Right. So you knew in school that you didn't want to be there.
Yeah, not at all. Wasn't for me.
What are some of the problems that you see with the current education system? Because as an entrepreneur, you don't have to go to college. College is a business.
Listen, I think college is really appropriate for a lot of reasons. It teaches you some life skills.
Right.
It teaches you all sorts of things you need if you're going to be an engineer, be a doctor, like very specific things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, most people, that's not their path.
Right.
At the end of the day, most people need to learn the skills to survive, money management, how to relate to human beings, how to contribute, how to follow your passion, and how to take an idea and bring it to market and actually get somebody to buy it. Because when someone buys your idea, then provided you're a good human providing a good product, then their life just got better.
Yep.
And college it's not teaching that the way it needs to be taught. Matter of fact, go back before college. It's not being taught in high school. It's not being taught in middle school. None of these important life functions are really being taught. So.
Yeah, you're right. Somebody told me it's a theory called the cognitive hypothesis, where we reward the kids that are the smartest because we think they're going to be the most successful.
Yeah.
And that shows that's not right.
No,
it's,
not at all.
It's the kids who have the highest amount of character, who are encouraged to be creative. And that's been my experience of you, man.
You know what's funny is growing up, I remember feeling bad that I wasn't good at school.
Yeah.
But I knew I was a smart person in a different way. And that mixed message made me feel like there was something wrong with me.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was an adult that I figured out, no, you were just concentrating on the wrong stuff.
Okay. So one of the other things that impresses me about you is that you're a freaking leader, you're a go-getter, and you're not ashamed to support your wife.
No,
I know that you've gotten behind Lori in a powerful way. I'm married. I've been married for almost 3 years now. I've known my wife since high school. I think a lot of men are afraid of that, to be behind the scenes. They want to be out there. What is it about? Was it a wrestling match between your own purpose and your own ambitions, or was it natural for you to get behind Lori? Because she's an awesome lady.
Listen, she was behind me when I was flying up through the ranks in corporate America. She never got a chance to discover her talents and do anything with them. So then when I wanted a break, when everything was going to crap for me, that was her moment that she woke up and said, hey, I'm not going to let this happen to us again. I want to contribute too, and I've got talents I want to put out there in the world. And that wake-up call, I saw her run with it, and I wanted to support that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think any man or any person, let's say, who doesn't support their partner pursuing their dreams is being short-sighted, because when your partner pursues their dreams and you actually propel them and support them, then your life gets exponentially better because they're happier and they're making money for the family, and like everything gets easier when both people are thriving in their purpose. So I had no problem like boosting her and saying, what do you need, babe? I got this.
Amen. So there's a football coach. He's James Franklin. He's the coach at Penn State. He will not hire a coach until he meets their wife, because he bases their recruiting skills off of the quality of their wife.
Oh man.
And your wife is quality, bro.
I'm lucky.
I
will kick my coverage on that one.
Yeah, I agree. But what is it? Can you give some advice to men that might be intimidated by a powerful, attractive, go-getting woman? Because it took skill to go out and to enroll Lori into Chris Harder.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't meet her when she was the Lori that everyone knows today, and she didn't meet me when I was the Chris that is sitting here on this interview right now.
That's great.
We chose to grow together. We had a couple fundamental things in common. We were big dreamers.
Okay.
We liked to work out together, and we just thoroughly enjoyed spending time. And we took that really rough packaging and just helped each other out. And I'd lift her and she'd lift me, and I'd lift her and I'd lift. And we became the people that we were meant to become, that people look and they say, oh, how do I find someone like that? Well, we didn't find someone like that. We became those people by helping each other get there. But if you are listening to this interview right now and there's somebody out there and you're like, that's the kind of man or that's the kind of woman that I want, and they intimidate you, you have to ask yourself, what are they reflecting in me that I'm afraid of? And if I'm afraid of that, how could they help me if I were to just let my guard down, let my ego down, and go approach them and start a conversation, see if we're a good fit or not? Ego is always your greatest overhead. And if you can mitigate ego, and everything else falls into place.
Ego's your
greatest overhead.
Greatest overhead. Amen. So there's other, I call it Chris Harder IP that you have, and one of them that you have on your podcast are called abundance hacks.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Where did that come from, and can you share with us some abundance hacks now?
Yeah, for sure. So listen, we live in this world where we're told money is bad, and we live in this world where we're told it's tough to get ahead, and the rich get rich and the poor get poor. I mean, you name it. What was the thing you heard growing up? I'm sure some phrase.
Yeah, it was. Just get a 9-to-5 job and you'll be comfortable. Right? Don't take
be
risks.
Safe.
Yeah, be safe.
Be safe. And the problem is all of those things are working against living an abundant life. When instead we should be taught to take risks because you can always try again, and to surround yourself with the right people that are going to lift you up, and also those who have already gone where you want to go. That's an abundance hack, right? Your tribe is going to make or break you. So we're living in a time right now where we're seeing a huge divide. We're seeing people either starting to really thrive or people really starting to fall behind.
Yeah.
And there's a number of reasons for that. And we'll leave that for another interview. But what's important is you have to choose right now which team you want to be on. Do you want to be on the team that's going to do the things to start thriving? Or do you want to be on the team that's just going to keep falling behind?
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this right now and you're like, wait, I want to be on the team that's not suffering. I want to be on the team that's winning. I want to be on the team that's starting to thrive. Well, then you got to find the people that want to help you get there. You got to surround yourself by them. You got to do the work. You got to read the books or listen to the podcasts or go to the events. You got to have that skin in the game.
Yeah.
And it starts with one little decision. And the excuse of, well, I don't have the money for that is not true, because podcasts are free, books are cheap, mentors are giving away free information more than they ever have before. It's never been easier to succeed than it is right now.
Amen, brother. You're right, bro. You should have been a football coach, dude.
Get
me fired
too
up.
Late.
That's right. That's right. So Chris, when I first started my first business, I always had entrepreneurship on the radar. And when football was over for me, it's like, okay, I don't want to work for anybody else.
Yeah.
Thankfully work for 2 Fortune 500 companies. So when I started a business, it was like throwing spaghetti against the wall to see if it's stuck.
Yeah.
And thankfully it stuck, and it was almost by accident.
Yeah.
And a lot of entrepreneurs, they start their businesses with an accident. It's like, okay, what's a spreadsheet? What's overhead? What's some advice that you can give to dads specifically out there that want to have a passive income stream and develop some type of entrepreneurship skill or business?
You got to make it a priority. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to dedicate your life to it. You don't have to neglect your family, but it is going to take some trading time away from something else that you're doing. So first examine, is it TV? Is it a hobby? Is it something distracting that you could sacrifice for a few years in order to go get that extra time to start learning how to do that side hustle?
Yeah.
And once you start reinvesting that time, then go find a mentor, start reading the books, start taking the courses as long as they're from somebody legitimate, and just spend a little bit. Consistency in learning your craft is way more important than volume. And that's where people get it wrong. They think, I don't have the time to go do this big dream. And it doesn't have to be this massive time-consuming, daunting thing. Consistency, a little bit every single day that you carve out, is way more important than just going all in and then burning out.
Absolutely. So Bill Harder, William Harder the Great.
Yes.
Part of the reason, Chris, we started this show is everybody has a podcast. We plank with people because we want to go through something to make connection with people. We just don't want to have a crazy hobby where we interview people. And everybody has an experience with your dad. Whether good or bad, your dad leaves an imprint. And my experience has been that leaders, the best leaders, they either have a strong father figure or a lack thereof. And I remember us talking earlier about Bill Harder. Can you talk about your relationship
I had
with
a
him?
strong father figure. I lucked out. Like, not everyone's born on third base, right? I was born on third base when it came to family.
That's great.
And so it was a big advantage. He taught me honesty. He taught me hard work. He was a hardworking professional, military background. And the way that he demonstrated how to be a man was really important in my life. And I feel like I've taken some of my favorite traits of my dad, added my own spin to those traits, as every adult does as they start to form. And now it's my chance to lead by example. We don't have any children yet, but for anybody else who's watching, there's so many young up and coming teenage entrepreneurs now and 20-year-old entrepreneurs. Like, there are so many people that are looking for somebody to look to be a good example. And I feel the responsibility of being that good example.
Yeah, you've already helped me out, brother. So another thing we have in common, besides being black,
is it the tan? Is it?
That's right. Is our brothers work with us in our business.
Yeah.
How is it working with your brother? I'm sure there's some headaches, but it's
less than you would think. Okay, listen, this is not real life, what you're about to hear. Okay, so I always say, careful about working with family. It's really tough working with family because it's a true statement.
Yeah.
But man, my brother is the exact opposite of me. So where I'm good at ABC, he's good at XYZ.
Okay.
And it's when you kind of fill those gaps that it all comes together. And we don't have any ego around both trying to show up a certain way or both try and do the same thing. He doesn't want to do the things I'm good at.
Okay.
And I don't want to do the things he's good at. And so whereas I'm an idea machine, none of my ideas would ever come to fruition without him being that detail-oriented, very linear thinker. And so I take the ideas, hand them off to him, he makes them happen. And it's that beautiful exchange where we just kind of fit together that's working out so well.
Nice. Did your dad teach you guys to work together intentionally?
I don't think intentionally, besides, hey, stop fighting, get along kind of a thing. But he created a family unit. Here's what he did right. You ready for this?
Yeah.
He created a family unit where family came first. And so never would we let business or money or income or any of that stuff affect our family unit between my brother Nick and I, because we were raised to never let that get out of hand. So when money comes up, when we're doing a launch for a product and it goes good or bad, none of that stuff gets in the way of family. We still put family first to make sure that our relationship is solid, and everything else is secondary to that.
That's awesome, man. What are in your podcast, who's been your favorite interview so far?
Man, that's a good question. Probably, I had one the other week, this incredible guy. He was a Army Ranger, and he ended up, leaving the Army. He started a charity on his own by selling his house, taking the equity out of it, starting this charity. And it's just starting to catch fire for everyone who comes back with post-traumatic syndrome and everything else. It's not that it's my favorite podcast. It represents my favorite types of guests, the ones that found a way to use money as a tool for good. The entire tagline of the show is, when good people make good money, they do great things. He's living that out. You don't have to be rich at first to make a difference. You can find other people to support your idea and get resourceful and get the funds together, and then that starts to snowball in your favor. And that's exactly what he's done. So I don't have a favorite person, but I have a favorite type of interview. And it's when somebody's so damn resourceful that they don't let anything get in the way, and they make something good happen regardless.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. So I think social media, I know social media is a strange and unusual way to communicate. I wasn't even on Instagram 6 months ago. But what I like about it is, if you meet an authentic person and they post authentic and creative content, they win followers. And I've been following you. And one of the things I freaking love about you, man, and I saw it on one of your stories when you turned 41 years young. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And you just said it today, it's never too late, is that you're not, dwelling on the past. You're still getting better day in day. You're being present in the moment. You're getting better every day. And a lot of people think that thinking's far-fetched. Is that something that is inherent with you that you have always had with you, or did you learn that from somebody?
I can't pinpoint where it came from.
Yeah.
But it is so ingrained in me that it's even a part of our marriage. So Lori and I have an agreement to always keep growing, to always keep trying to be interesting, to always trying it on for size when the other person has an idea. Because it's unfair to think 20 years later that if you met when you were dynamic and everything was exciting, and all of a sudden you've just become a lazy slob, that the other person should be obligated to love you.
Right.
And so this quest to keep growing, it's in my marriage, it's in my business, it's in my friendships. I feel like life is boring if you are not transcending and if you're not trying to keep recreating who you are, because life's gonna pass you by otherwise.
Absolutely, man. Wow. Well, Chris, is there a message, I feel like to ask you this, if you could say anything to your dad now, to William Harder, what would it be?
Man, I would say, Dad, thank you for being such an awesome example of how to be a good man and an honest man, and to put family first. It'd be easy for me to get distracted by building businesses and the rush that comes with that, because I'm very much addicted to that. But my dad is the one that gave me the DNA that says family first. Make sure you're carving out time. On my calendar, I literally have family dates blocked off on my calendar so that other things can't land on it. And that all comes from my dad. And so I got to thank him for that. Yeah.
That's great, man. That's awesome. I saw too that you've been intentional this year about taking the weekends off.
Yeah, yep.
And I think oftentimes, I know my problem, man, is a lot of times hard work comes from a place of scarcity. It's like, man, I'm not going to have the success that I had in the past. Could you touch on that point, people that have scarcity dilemmas and operating out of scarcity?
Yeah, so I mean, that's all of us, right? If I'm not working right now, I might not be making money. If I'm not making money, then the money might run out and I can't take care of my family. If I can't take care of my family, I won't be loved. But here's the great irony is, you're not being loved when you're not available for your family or your wife or your friends.
Yeah.
So you may think you're doing the right thing to take care of people, but what people really just want outside of, a safe place to live and food on the table, and they want your attention, they want your love, they want your validation, they want experiences and memories with you and all that stuff. And so I made it a real effort Lori and I woke up one day and realized we're working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And was it paying off? Sure. But were we having fun anymore? Nah,
No.
not really. And so we said, this year we're taking weekends off. We're going to take weekend trips. We're going to just hang around the house here. We're just going to be chill, and we're going to have that time built in to make sure we stay connected and do more with our families.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Wonderful. So last question is going to get kind of deep.
All right.
So I'm interviewing people that in my book are like the top 2%. I think consciousness is a weird word, but they have a state of awareness where they're operating at a high level, they're impacting people, and they're generous. I remember being at an event last year. It was an influencers event, and you have all these beautiful young people, and they're living their best life now, and they're making it happen. But it's like, you know what, guys, this does not last forever. Like one day you're going to die, and I just want to get an idea of what you believe spiritually, Chris, and how you were raised, if you don't mind me
That's a
asking.
good question. So I was raised going to church every Sunday.
Okay.
And, Christian, typical Midwest upbringing.
Yeah.
I believe in God. I believe that we all define God differently. What really upsets me is that so many people are willing to fight and hurt other people over how they define God. This is a really silly analogy, but it's like breaking off a relationship and physically hurting a human being because they like Ford and I like Chevy is the most ridiculous thing in the world, because in the end, they're just trucks.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, if you define God one certain way and I define God one certain way, as long as we agree on the fundamental principles of loving people and being a good man and showing up the best that you can and asking forgiveness when you mess up, then why do we need to fight over anything else besides that?
Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you do right, Chris, that you do better than anybody, you think?
Oh, man. I'm consistent, and I don't do anything better than everybody, but I'm consistent from our non-negotiable walks every evening with my wife. I mean, if it's raining, we still go. To workouts in the morning, to doing the grind for what needs to be done for work. That consistency really pays off.
Wow. That's awesome, brother. And what's one thing you wish you could improve on?
I wish I could ask for help better.
Okay.
I'll still try and figure it out myself, or I don't want to bother other people.
Yeah.
I've made it a real concentrated effort to try and ask for help more over the past year. And when I do, it's amazing what shows up.
Yeah.
So that's something I gotta do better.
Awesome, man. Well, I hope you have fun, bro.
Dude.
And if I have any success, man, I'll have you to thank for it, whether we ever talk again or not, man. You have me at hello, brother.
Hey, for life. For
All
life.
day, brother. Chris Harder was kind enough to let us plank in his home. I love that guy. That does it for the latest episode of Plank Session. I'm Justin Kershaw. Stay tuned.